SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're more than a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors and trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've helped families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. We're dedicated to your success every step of the way. Community Bank, member FDIC.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Mornings of Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and of course on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. Glad to be with you. A little different location for me this morning. Takes a few extra minutes to kind of look around, get the bearings, get the mic just right. Different headphones today instead of earbuds, which is a little bit of a change for me. But glad to be with you from the mothership, the headquarters, the worldwide headquarters of SuperTalk Mississippi. Good morning to you. Thanks for being Lance, what's up, buddy?
What's up, my man? Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you
Every
as
blue
well.
moon, this happens.
Just right there on the other side of the glass.
Yeah, I loved it yesterday. You're like, man, by the way, I'm going to be in the studio tomorrow. I'm like, cool, bring it on, man.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
I was about Grenada, I think, last night at that point when I said that to you, just en route. But glad to be with you this morning. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire. Find them online, cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Little nip in the air this morning. It's nice out. Feels like the start of an absolutely gorgeous day. Going to be a great day today in the state of Mississippi. It's going to be a great day for you. And if it's not the greatest of all days, at least it's better than the day that the head football coach at the University of Michigan had yesterday. Woke up yesterday morning, head football coach at the University of Michigan, 39 years old, the world is his oyster, went to bed last night in jail without a job. Man, I'll give you what happened there in the sports update coming up in a little while. South Haven, you've got some clouds this morning. Going to give way to mainly sunny skies for the afternoon. High of 53. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour. What are we in April, May? Get that south breeze. Winona, sunny for you. High of 56. Winds out of the south-southeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Hattiesburg, mainly sunny skies today for you. The high of 61. Pretty good day to be out on the golf course at Canebrake or Hattiesburg Country Club, or a lot of good golf tracks in the greater Pine Belt area. Wouldn't be bad on the coast either. Long Beach. Careful. You're coming in at 56 this morning. Oh, I'm sorry. Later today, it's going to be 56 for you with breeze out of the south. You know, it happens. Mouth gets going faster than your brain, or vice versa, or maybe the brain's not firing altogether. Thanks for being with us. And let's see, birthdays today. John Kerry. Oh, what a statesman. I mean, when you give him the keys to the castle and send him on the world stage and say, you are the chief ambassador, the chief negotiator, the chief peacemaker and deal maker for the United States of America, and we feel great about that. John Kerry, born on this day in 1943, Secretary of State. He was a candidate for president Democrat Party. Aurora, Colorado is where he was born. What a difference. What a difference in Secretary of State between John Kerry and Marco Rubio. You look like you're holding back something right there.
Yeah, Kerry, wonderful, wonderful Secretary of State. He was the one that took his medals that he had earned and chunked them into the mall pool in front of the monument in Washington and protested.
Oh.
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he?
We squirt ketchup on them first?
Probably.
Hey.
He didn't miss the camera much when it came to an opportunity. Back before we had social media, everywhere, he was right there.
Yeah. Wasn't he part of the architect of the bungled withdrawal from Afghanistan?
Oh, you got to give him credit for that, even if he wasn't.
Even if it actually wasn't him. Maybe that wasn't him.
He earned it.
I think he was out by then. Terry Garr was born on this day in 1944. An actress in Young Frankenstein, Tootsie, and do you remember the movie Mr. Mom?
Oh, I've seen it 100,000 times.
Good one.
All three of those, I'd have to say, those are, if you had to name Terry Garr's movies, that's the three
those
you
want
to go with, yeah. Tootsie's awesome, too. I mean, for what it was at the time, I mean, I remember Dustin Hoffman in the girl wardrobe and trying to, it's like, what in the world's going on here? That was a blew your mind type thing. But I love all three of those movies, especially, though, Young Frankenstein.
She was born in Lakewood, Ohio, 1954 in Gary, Indiana. Jermaine Jackson, part of the Jackson 5. I guess ABC was the one where he stood out. And then Nikki Sixx, rock bassist and songwriter with Motley Crue, born in San Jose, California. Girls, girls, girls. Haley Steinfeld is 29 years old. She was born in 1996. True Grit, and then the Pitch Perfect films. That's where her star grew. Born in L.A. All right, some things that happened on this day in history. Today is the 11th of December, 2025. In 1620, the Mayflower Pilgrims came ashore in Plymouth Bay, traditionally thought to be Plymouth Rock. How would you get those two confused? I mean, the bay is the big body of water. Maybe the rock was in the bay. How about this one? I feel like we should say thank you to William Preece. Today, 1896, Chief Electrical Engineer of the British Post Office, William Preece, gave a public lecture in London called Telegraphy Without Wires, praising the work of 22-year-old Guglielmo Marconi. Today, I think we call that radio. I believe that's the thing.
Good old Guglielmo. He was in the middle of a lot of stuff. And we are grateful. Thank you, Guglielmo.
Yeah. Still waiting for our award. You get the Marconi and you're in good shape. Joe DiMaggio retired on this day in 1951. 10 years after that, in 1961, Elvis Presley's Blue Hawaii album went to number one, stayed there for 20 weeks. 1980, man, so just over a month after I was born, Magnum P.I., starring Tom Selleck, appeared on CBS. Coolest mustache in the history of mustaches? Probably.
Raleigh fingers in him, yeah.
Yeah. His was a little more well-coiffed than Raleigh fingers.
Raleigh had a bunch of wax in there.
Yeah. 1981 was the last time that Muhammad Ali fought, and on that day he fought and won. His 61st and final boxing match, lost to Trevor Berbick by unanimous decision in 10 rounds at Queen Elizabeth Sports Center in Nassau in the Bahamas. Well, you want to go out on top, and those last few sometimes don't go the way that you want. Famous, if not infamous, movie Wall Street, directed by Oliver Stone, starring Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen, released on this day in 1987. Lance, greed is good.
It's an iconic movie. I mean, the second one, all right, but the first one,
oh yeah,
oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Love it. Oliver Stone masterpiece.
Is it coincidence that Greed is Good, Wall Street was released on this day in 1987, and in 2008, Bernie Madoff was arrested and charged with securities fraud in a $50 billion Ponzi scheme?
One that was, I think they had turned him in a few times, and people were like, no, he's just that smart.
Yeah. What was it, the 13th floor, the 17th floor, or whatever, don't go there.
Yeah, don't go there.
Man. You watched that movie? The Bernie Madoff movie?
The De Niro?
Yeah. Man. Tiger Woods quit golf on this day in 2009, at least for a little while. Took an indefinite leave from professional golf to focus on his marriage. He was not able to repair it. Breaking news. And 2014 CIA Director John Brennan defended the interrogation methods used after 9/11, but he admitted that some of them were abhorrent. Mr. Brennan, with all due respect, maybe not abhorrent enough. Just getting started with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Quick time out. We got news headlines next.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
You know, the internet never lies to you. Never, ever, ever. Because there are a few of you that offered up some mustache suggestions as the greatest of all times. Lance went with Raleigh Fingers. We had a suggestion that we should not forget about Sam Elliott. I have no issue with that. So I just typed in the old Google machine, best TV mustache all time. Number one. It's Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
I do think that Elliott's mustache, though, is pretty amazing.
It is. Yeah. Others on the list, Burt Reynolds, Nick Offerman, Ned Flanders from The Simpsons.
That thing's a broom.
Hulk Hogan, Sam Elliott, there you go. Alex Trebek, Bob Belcher, and Yosemite Sam.
Didn't Trebek shave his at some point, though? Does that negate the...
I think so. Yeah. I think so. What if he and Gerard shaved theirs on the same day? No?
I want Gerard to bring it back for like a week. And then, he could do whatever he wants, obviously, with it. But I like the, throw him off here every now and again. Go into like one of those interviews with that nice mustache.
You think he could grow it back at this point?
I don't know. It may not be as black as it was once. It had the nice dark hairs in there with the gray, kind of like mine on the side. I still have a few blondes in there, but it's mostly white. But a good, it's distinguished. A white mustache is distinguished.
That's what we call it. I'm sorry, I'm doing a double take because I just tried to open a file on my computer, and it told me. Are you familiar with 403 Access Forbidden?
I am not.
When you go to supertalk.fm?
I have not seen that one. Let me see if mine's doing that as well. Ooh, I'm seeing the same thing on 403 Forbidden.
Yeah.
Open Resty.
That is going to make it a little tough to work our way through the news headlines this morning. I do think that I should I'm going to let you tap dance for a second. I'm going to let Will East and Houston know that the website is not operating properly.
Well, you have Steve Harvey's mustache as well and Clark Gable, Billy D. Williams, and Colt 45. It worked every time. And let's see here. Santa's got a beard, though. Jed Clampett, yeah, that's a solid mustache. We could roll with that. That was an OG mustache there.
Jed Clampett?
Yeah, well, right. Buddy Ebsen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that would be one of the best. They kind of looked a little ratty to me. I don't know, kind of hillbilly.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think I can do some of this from memory. Governor Tate Reeves, for the first time in his time in office, is granting executive clemency to a prisoner in the Mississippi Department of Corrections. There was a man, again, forgive me for not having his name right here in front of me, a man who was sentenced to 15 years in prison for sale and distribution of a level 3 controlled substance. And he admitted guilt to this and, again, was serving his time in prison here in the state of Mississippi, had served 10 of his 15 years. And then there was some legal exploration that figured out that the guidelines for the sentencing were a maximum of 5 years in prison. And so Governor Reeves, when that was brought to his attention, said, this is not mercy, this is justice. This man has already served 5 years beyond what legally he should have served. Let him go. He's got to be released by December the 15th. Good. Absolutely doing the right thing there. And you would think easy decision as well. How does that happen? I don't. How does a judge get off that far off? When a max sentencing guideline is for 5 years, and you end up getting sent for 15. I don't know.
Yeah, and I had sent I found another link to it to your email, so it had some of the information you were looking for in there if you wanted to reference that. But yeah, the Marcus Taylor was the individual accepted a plea bargain, pled guilty to conspiracy to sell a Schedule 3 substance. So just to get that name that you wanted. But yeah, that sounds it's way off, huh?
Yeah. The United States has taken over an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. President Donald Trump said yesterday that the United States had done just that, had seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela as tensions mount with the government run by the president, Nicolas Maduro. U.S. forces taking control of a merchant ship, incredibly unusual, marks the latest push in pressure on Maduro, has been charged with narco-terrorism in the United States. The United States has been building a case against him. We know that they have been taking out drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. This campaign is facing heavy scrutiny from Congress, with the defense authorization bill kind of hanging in the balance. Pete Hegseth not sure if he wants to release the entire video to all of Congress. The only defense that I would give Pete Hegseth on that is, if there happens to be anything classified in it, we have reached the point where you cannot give that material to Congress because it will not remain classified. Now, there are certain members of Congress that you can give it to, that you have to give it to. But if you give classified information to Congress that is a national security issue, it will be leaked to the people, and it will no longer be classified. It'll be out there. Trump said yesterday, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large, largest one ever, actually. Of course he did. It was seized for a very good reason. Though he did not offer details when asked what would happen to the oil aboard the tanker, Trump said, well, we keep it, I guess. Seizure was led by the Coast Guard, supported by the Navy. Coast Guard members were taken to the oil tanker by helicopter from the aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford. Ford's in the Caribbean Sea after arriving last month in a major show of force. Coast Guard members can be seen in the video moving throughout the superstructure of the Strip with their weapons drawn. Pam Bondi wrote that for multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. Well, that makes a little more sense. It's funny when you read that story from the AP, you got to get about 8 paragraphs in until we get to, wait, hold on a second. Why is it that the United States military seized an oil tanker in the middle of the Caribbean? This seems silly. This seems like the president's just out playing war games. And then you get to the point where, like, oh, that's why we did it. So you've got an oil tanker who's running money and drugs. Proceeds of his efforts are going to fund narco-terrorism. Well, that makes a little more sense. Lance, I don't remember if it was you that said it yesterday or if it was on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, that this fight with Venezuela is not about drugs, actually. It's about oil. Their ability to produce oil and a hedging of bets in the event that things go awry in the Middle East as it pertains to Russia and or China.
I will not take credit. I believe that came from the text line.
Okay.
But, yes, that was a comment yesterday.
And so that's something to watch really, really closely. Is this about drugs and protecting the people of the United States? Is it about oil in the future? And is that needing Venezuela to be a friend, or is it controlling Venezuela, or... But it is a narco state. It is a country in the Caribbean that supports and funds drugs. Drugs run the country of Venezuela and the cash that comes along with them. And the biggest buyer of, the biggest client of, the United States. And so Donald Trump trying to shut it down. 6:31 with you on this Thursday morning, the 11th of December. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We will have the Speaker of the House, Jason White, in studio this morning. Look forward to a visit with him. Also, our friends from Farm Bureau, Henry Hamill and Mike McCormick, will be in studio. We're back after this, MRC on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook.com.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Keep everything in the farm. Upset in every way.
Thursday morning, Super Talk Mississippi. It's mornings with Richard Cross. Time for your sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. Mississippi State is beginning its preparation for a bowl game, and it's doing so without its starting quarterback for most of the last couple of years, Blake Shapen. Head coach Jeff Levy said yesterday during a news conference that Shapen is at home in Louisiana preparing for the next stage of his career. The direct quote, Blake is at home, and he's training, getting ready for an all-star game, getting ready for Pro Day. Jeff Levy admitted that the benching of Blake Shapen was really hard, that Shapen took it really hard after being an unbelievably consistent person inside our building for 2 years. Shapen finished his career at Mississippi State with 3,407 yards passing and 23 touchdowns while throwing 9 interceptions. When you include his time at Baylor, nearly 9,000 career passing yards at Baylor and Mississippi State in his college career. So some good numbers there. But Mississippi State has turned the page. Jeff Levy says Camario Taylor will go with the ones. And then Luke Kromenhout will be incredibly involved and be the 2 as we get into it. One other interesting thing from Jeff Lebby, he talked about the fact that they didn't think that they were going to be practicing right now. He said, we definitely didn't think we'd be playing in a bowl game. We got a phone call Sunday mid-morning talking about the possibility of it and making sure we were in great alignment on what we wanted to be able to do. For us, it's a no-brainer for our program to have these practices, to be able to be together, to be able to lift the way we're going to be able to lift and keep these guys around us. Our guys in the building are incredibly excited about it. Those are the words of Jeff Lebby, head football coach at Mississippi State, as the Bulldogs get ready for a bowl game, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, in which they will take on Wake Forest of the ACC. The game is in Charlotte. Of course, it was unexpected because Mississippi State finished the year 5-7. On Tuesday night, former Ole Miss All-American Terrence Metcalf was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame during a ceremony in Las Vegas. He's one of 18 members announced as part of the 2025 class. What a class this was. Michael Vick from Virginia Tech, Michael Strahan from Texas Southern, Haloti Ngata from Oregon, Urban Meyer, three-time national championship winning coach at Ohio State, Nick Saban, and others. Terrence Metcalf, the 10th player from Ole Miss in history to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, player or coach. The list he joins is a good one. Bruiser Kennard, Parker Hall, Charlie Connerly, Barney Poole, Charlie Flowers, Jake Gibbs, Archie Manning, Wesley Walls, and Patrick Willis. Johnny Vaught remains the only Ole Miss head coach ever inducted into the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame.
Some kind of list there.
Man, that was some dudes that could play.
I love that. I was reading the Saban quotes yesterday about his time growing up in West Virginia, and his father, who coached him, would, even when they won, he was always riding him hard. And one day Nick went to his mom and said, "Mom, even when I win, why am I getting blessed out?" She said, "It's because he wants you to be the best you can possibly be." And he said, "I took that with me and tried to coach kids the same way and tried to get the most out of them." And I found that would be very interesting. My dad was much the same way. It was never enough that you could do to be great. It was always more.
Yeah. Certainly drove him through his career. Yesterday, the SEC announced its individual awards. A couple of days ago, we got the first and second, third team All-SEC squads. Offensive Player of the Year from Vanderbilt University, quarterback Diego Pavia. Cassius Howell from Texas A&M, the Defensive Player of the Year. Tate Sandell, kicker from Oklahoma, Special Teams Player of the Year. He missed one kick this year. Field goal, first game of the year. I was on the call, saw him miss it. And then he did not miss again for the entire remainder of the season. Braylon Staley at Tennessee was named Freshman of the Year. The newcomer of the year, Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. And why not? A couple of guys get the Jacobs blocking trophy. Caden Proctor from Alabama and Trey Zune from Texas A&M. Nick Rinaldi from Vanderbilt, Scholar Athlete of the Year. Clark Lee, the Coach of the Year in the SEC from the Vanderbilt Commodores. Yesterday, thanks to a FOIA request that was put out by Michael Katz, Ole Miss released the terms of Pete Golding's contract. A memorandum of understanding, an MOU, binding the parties on the effective date. It is a 5-year contract for Pete Golding that is worth $6.8 million in year one, with an annual increase of $100,000, and in year 5, his base salary will be $7.2 million. I think there are probably some other details, incentives, and whatnot, but we don't have the entirety of the contract yet, just that so far. Good to be Pete Golding.
It didn't have anything. There was no yoga clause in there, right? You didn't get a free membership to Curves or anything.
Not that I am aware of, no. I think Pete made it pretty abundantly clear that he was not going to be spending time in the yoga studio. And then there is this yesterday from Michigan. Sharon Moore was in custody in Washtenaw County Jail in Michigan last night as a suspect in an alleged assault just hours after he was fired as Michigan's football coach for having what the school said was an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. You can't do that, especially when it's a subordinate. Moore was initially detained by police in Saline, Michigan. I may not be pronouncing that correctly. Saline or Saline. He was turned over to authorities in Pittsfield Township for investigation into potential charges. Pittsfield police released a statement last night saying they responded at 4:10 p.m. to an address in Ann Arbor for the purposes of investigating an alleged assault. A suspect in this case was taken into custody. This incident does not appear to be random in nature, and there appears to be no ongoing threat to the community. The suspect was lodged at the Washtenaw County Jail pending review of charges. At this time, the investigation is ongoing. Given the nature of the allegations, need to maintain the integrity, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to say anything else. No additional details. So, Sharon Moore was told by the University of Michigan yesterday that he was out, that he was being fired for cause, and the cause was not losing to Ohio State 3 weeks ago. It was because of an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. There are rumors and innuendo that are running rampant on the internet. It's funny, there are a lot of national college football writers that have been saying, oh, yeah, there's been rumor that this was going on, but nobody could prove it. Nobody could substantiate it. There had been people online who had pointed out that there was something going on at Michigan, and some of the people pointed that stuff out with some level of specificity. So Michigan fired Moore following an investigation into his conduct. They did it conveniently 1 week after National Signing Day. They did it after the regular season ended. Statement from Michigan said head football coach Sharon Moore has been terminated with cause effective immediately following a university investigation. Credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Michigan has had its fair share of scandals over the years, and Michigan is one of those places that tends to hold its chin in the air high because of the moral standard by which they carry themselves and a certain amount of gravitas that goes with being the University of Michigan. And yet, they seem to continue to roll around in the mud with the likes of Jim Harbaugh and now Sharon Moore and Juwan Howard and others. There is in my view, far more pressing question. The athletics director at the University of Michigan, what did he know and when did he know it? If you had the information that Sharon Moore was having an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate, with a staff member, that might or might not have led to an unwanted pregnancy and might or might not have led to an abortion funded by one of the parties, not her. When did you know it? How much did you know? And why did you wait until yesterday to pull the plug? Why was he not placed on administrative leave during the investigation? Because the importance of the football season, the importance of the signing class, the importance of keeping Bryce Underwood on staff? Is Sharon Moore going to be the only one to go, or is Ward Manuel, the athletics director, on his way out too? That's the question for me.
From the Venable Glass.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You know what that music means? It means it's time for the Mississippi Lottery update online, mslottery.com. That's mslottery.com. Had another drawing last night for the Powerball. Nobody walked away with the $930 million that was the estimated jackpot. We did have a winner in South Haven. Matched 4 out of the 5 white balls and the Powerball to win $50,000 last night. Congratulations there. And so the estimated jackpot for Saturday's drawing, this Saturday, December 13th, is $1 billion. Estimated cash value $461,300,000. The numbers from last night, 10, 16, 29, 33, 69. The Powerball was 22. The Power Play multiplier was 3. What do you think? Before Christmas, before the end of the year?
I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd probably go with after the first of the year.
Oh, really? So you got this thing jumping.
Yeah, get it on up there a little bit. Pay off some bills. $450 million cash will go a long way.
It certainly will. The Mississippi Lottery is proud to announce another strong month of returns for the state of Mississippi. November's transfer to the state totaled more than $11.4 million, pushing fiscal year 2026 contributions for roads and bridges to now over $53 million. As we celebrate the lottery's 6th anniversary, or did on November 25th, total contributions since launch have now topped $745 million, all helping support Mississippi's roads, bridges, and early education. And that support is going to continue to grow with a $1 billion Powerball jackpot out there for the taking. You just got to get the numbers right. That's it. You get the numbers right, and it is all yours. C-Spire text line is the best way for you to get in touch with us. We ask you to join there at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395.
I have one thing for you, just as a $2.04 billion, November 7, 2022.
That's that cat in California.
That's that cat, Edwin Castro.
Yeah.
He opted for the large lump sum cash option.
900 and something million,
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yes, sir. That was the last big boy, though, I think.
And that, we've had
a
$1
billion. We had the $1.7 billion September 2025, and then the $1.7 billion in 2023. So there've been some big ones lately.
Yeah. Castro spent a bunch of money. He had the guy that tried to extort the money out of him and say that he stole the ticket. Castro fought it. The problem with claiming that the ticket had been stolen was the guy had absolutely zero evidence that the ticket had been stolen. So that seems to be a bit of a problem. Hogman says, Black Bears glad the media has Michigan to talk about. Hogman's our resident Arkansas fan. He likes to poke at the state of Mississippi. Hogman, I am more than happy to discuss the Black Bears, as you call them. I believe the Black Bears have the only football team from the states of Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Tennessee that's in the college football playoff. I am more than happy to talk about the old Black Bears, Hogman. You just tell me what you want to talk about, friend. I'm not looking for a distraction. Thought you might like one. With a great deal of both authority and a healthy dose of sarcasm on top, we're told can't have over 4 years on a contract, but golfing, I think he meant Golding, won't last that long anyway. Ha, 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 ha. Little rolling face emoji.
I like old Pete. I hope he works out.
You're right.
Not just for Ole Miss, but I like Pete Golding.
I do, too.
And I like the way he speaks, too. It's different than what we're used to, and it'll be different than what we've seen for the last 6 years. And I think that's a refreshing change, personally.
State of Mississippi specifies a maximum 4-year contract on a state contract. I think Ole Miss has shown for a number of years now that there's a way to work around that, and that's when you guarantee the remaining money for an additional year of the contract through your private foundation. That's what Ole Miss has done. That's what they will continue to do, but thank you for contributing to the conversation. And you're right. You may be right. Maybe Pete Golding won't be at Ole Miss 4 years, which is almost the exact same thing that everybody said about Lane Kiffin when he I'll never be there for a full contract term. He left eventually. Eventually he did. It was 6 years and 50 wins later. 54 wins? 55 wins? Anyway. All right. We got the 7 o'clock hour on the way. Glad to be with you this morning alongside Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Speaker of the House Jason White. He'll be about 20 minutes from right now. And then Henry Hamill and Mike McCormick from Mississippi Farm Bureau. A new thing that Farm Bureau has rolled out in the state of Mississippi. We're going to explore that with them. News is next.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Good morning. Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Morning. 7 o'clock hour on this Thursday morning, the 11th of December. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Online, you can find them at communitybank.net. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Coming up in 15 minutes or so, Mississippi Speaker of the House Jason White will join us in studio. We'll talk with him about what is on the horizon with the legislature less than a month away from reconvening. So much of the discussion since the legislature closed things out back in at the end of March has been about choice related to schools, portability, freedom of movement, educational freedom. There's so many different ways that you can talk about this, and sometimes people get offended based on which way you describe it. What we know, without a shadow of a doubt, is that this is a passionate issue for the people of the state of Mississippi. And there doesn't appear to be a lot of middle ground. Lance, I kind of feel like, I'm not going to say I'm on an island of one, but I feel like I'm kind of in the middle on this issue, and there are not a lot of people around me. You got people that are adamantly for full universal school choice. Parents are the ones who have the right to make decisions for their kids. They know their kids best. They know where their money should go. If they're paying taxes, their taxes should only be funding students from, all of those things. And then you got the people on the other side of this issue that are against the idea of universal school choice. a lot of them are against the idea of any school choice. You live where you live. That's where your kids should go. That's where your tax money's going. And then there are the people that are a little more in the middle. And maybe I'm exaggerating when I say feel like there's nobody around me here. I'm like, yeah, I get that parents should have the freedom to move around. But I also understand some of the concerns that educators have and school districts have. And so it makes me wonder where we are going to end on this issue. It is certainly going to be a lot of what is talked about under the rotunda, the beautiful rotunda.
I'm excited.
At the Mississippi Capitol.
I'm excited about this session. There's a lot on the table. And with carryovers.
That's the thing. There's so much more than just school choice, though, that we've got to get to.
There is. There's some carryover things from last year as well in the previous 2 or 3 years. School choice seems to be one that continues to kind of get to the top. And because it affects every little community in Mississippi, it is not immune. No one is immune from this. You're either on the left or right. I think you've done a remarkable job handling the debate because there are passions on both sides and everyone has something they believe in. Finding that middle ground is going to be difficult, I think. And I think you've been in the middle there.
Should it be, though? Should getting to the middle ground be difficult? It feels like on so many issues it shouldn't be that difficult to get to a middle ground. But it's not just school choice, right? It's school choice. It's ballot initiative, which for a couple of years has felt like kind of a dirty word in the Capitol. It does seem to be something that is gaining a little more steam and is going to have a little bit of conversation related to it. It felt largely like we were kind of putting the PERS conversation to bed a year ago because that was part of the debate back and forth between the House and the Senate with House Bill 1 and the tax breaks and the tax on groceries going away and the phasing down of the income tax and the gas tax and all of that. And then there was the PERS piece that was in there that added Tier 5. And yet a conversation about PERS has emerged again in the last few months, being driven by the First Responders Association and others who are saying, hey, can we revisit this? Can we look at this more closely? Because one of the effects of this new piece going in on the retirement system is it's really hard for us to recruit. And now we're asking people who serve in really high stress and physically demanding jobs for a long period of time, we're asking them to work longer. And to do so in a way that is less beneficial on the back end. Can we have a conversation about that? And so that's a conversation that is going to be ongoing. And there's more. It kind of goes on and on and on. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to this morning when we visit with Speaker White coming up in just a few minutes is what's on his mind. Right? Because we kind of talk about all the things that we're talking about. And a lot of that's driven by information from legislators and people that have an idea what's going on. We know the conversations are coming, but sometimes the leaders in the House and the Senate have other things that are top of mind. I talked yesterday with Sam Creekmore about health and human services. To me, the conversation that is happening in the Senate or that happened in the Senate in that hearing over the last 2 days is one that we are going to keep in the forefront. This performance and outcomes-based funding conversation for colleges and universities as opposed to the let's all go make our money and then let's just put it in a pot here. We'll call the pot the IHL. We'll put a nice IHL sticker on the big money pot, and then we'll hand everybody out the money that they need. Not related to the amount of money they put in the pot, but related to the amount of money that they need. You ever been to one of those crawfish boils where they or a jambalaya cook, where they got that big old 100-gallon cast iron pot that hangs on a hook over the fire? You've seen one of those before. Y'all probably got one of those at the deer camp, don't you?
Definitely.
Of course you do. You got everything at the deer camp, Lance.
Yeah, well, we've been there a long time.
Well, I understand.
Some of it's got rust on it.
I understand.
It floods there.
Get the old SOS pad out and go to work.
Man, I tell you, I could be shot with a nail that is absolutely covered in rust, and it would not bother me.
Yeah.
I eat rust.
Yeah, so you got 8 universities, and the University of Mississippi Medical School, which for the purposes of the IHL is counted as a separate entity, but then they lump it in with Ole Miss. It's like they can't quite decide what to do because it's such a large piece that sits on its own, and there are people that would prefer that the medical school not be tied to Ole Miss, and there are others that are like, just shut up, okay? It's the University of Mississippi Medical Center. You're not changing the name. It's not going to just go away. Anyway, sorry, that is a side note. But it is as if you are taking all of the money from all of the schools that they're generating and that the legislature is allocating, and you're taking all of that and you're dumping it into that great big old cast iron pot hanging on the hook above the fire. And then Al Rankins is the guy with the ladle. You know, there's somebody with a ladle that's serving. Commissioner of the IHL, Al Rankins, and the rest of the IHL board, they're the ones with the ladle that decide how big the portions are that go in the bowl. And the way it works right now, you got 6 schools that walk up there, they hold their bowl out, and it gets filled to the top. And you got 2 schools that are walking up there, they get just a little bitty ladle pour in the soup bowl, and they're like, wait, hold on a second. We brought all the ingredients for what you are serving out of the pot. Can we have a little more soup, please? And in the words of the writers of the great Jerry Seinfeld, no soup for you.
Hey, if I'd have known you were going that route, I have that cut up here for you, buddy.
I'm going to be honest, Lance, I didn't know I was going that route.
I love it. Organic.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Speaker of the House, Jason White, will join us coming up next. Thanks for being with us.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill.
Good morning once again. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Appreciate you being with us. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Mornings is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net. Joined by the Speaker of the House for the great state of Mississippi, Jason White, in studio this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Richard. Good to be with you.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
It's close. Countdown clock is down to just a few days remaining.
To Christmas?
Well, to the big duck season, right? You're a big duck hunter, aren't you?
That's already started.
Well, that was just the short window, wasn't it?
But it's opened back up.
Okay.
We're in a second split, so yeah.
Good start to duck season?
Good start.
I've heard a lot of people say that there's some birds.
Yeah, we've killed ducks. My son has really killed them.
Really?
He's a magnet.
Well, you should go with him more often.
I know. They're more into a young man's game. I'm more. I got my coffee thermos and I'm,
just out there taking pictures chilling. And
Yeah, we like to shoot them too, but
I understand. We're close, and there have been so many conversations throughout the months since last year's session ended. And I was saying before the break, I mean, there are things we know that are on the docket, right? On the House side, on the Senate side, that are on your agenda, that are important to the governor, that are important to the lieutenant governor. But it feels like there are always some things that are not necessarily on the radar for most Mississippians going into a legislative session that end up being important or end up being contentious. You have any sense for what that or those things might be this year?
No, we sat around a few days ago trying to think about that, because you're right. There is always that thing or those two things or three things that nobody planned for or thought about or maybe, as you say, wasn't on anybody's radar. So if I could figure that out, I would probably be sitting over there where you are and doing much better than I'm doing. But who knows what that'll be? You know, we finished up our joint legislative budget committee stuff yesterday and adopted a budget well in excess of $7 billion. Revenues are coming in ahead of our estimates, even above our estimates. So those things look good, and so I think we get a little bit lulled by the fact that the bank accounts are full. We will have over $3 billion in our different bank accounts of unallocated monies. In other words, that's been unheard of in my time in state government, and probably in anybody's, certainly in modern Mississippi history.
Does that include what we call the rainy day fund, or is that
it does.
In addition to?
That's a little over $700 million of that $3 billion.
Okay, so that's
yes.
$2 to $2.5 billion that is unallocated.
Unallocated. That's right, and it's over 1.5 in the CapEx, which is, then you've got other general funds and Education Enhancement Fund, the rainy day fund you speak of, or stabilization fund. But we are flush with cash, and we are currently operating in a budget that's going to take in about $500 million more than we're going to spend. So you're going to bank that money, and the budget we adopted yesterday that will start July 1st. Well, it'll be the starting place for budget negotiations for this session. But we're usually pretty close to where JLBC came with the number. And yesterday that number was about 7-1. And so
Is that a bipartisan, bicameral committee?
It actually is. It's 7 House members, 6 state senators, and the lieutenant governor. So it's 7 and 7. It's 7 from the Senate, 7 from the House. And there is Democrat on the House side and on the Senate side. I had to think for just a minute. But yeah. So now it's majority Republicans.
Sure.
As voters would expect. But not a lot of fireworks there. Like I said, when there's lots of money, the talk tends to center around, well, what are you going to spend that money on? Instead of what are you going to cut, which were my first few years in the legislature. So I am proud of our appropriators and that committee yesterday and their work all fall and over the last few years in not spending everything we make, not spending everything we take in. And so I took a moment yesterday and folks probably thought, maybe I was getting a little hokey and whatever, but we've been, we've had our dust ups with the other end of the building about the process of the state budget. But the results do speak for themselves. While that has not been pretty and not been fun to be in the middle of, and y'all probably got tired of talking about it and reporting on it, it is good for Mississippians because we've adopted conservative budgets for several years running, and we're doing it again this year. And of that 7-1, we will spend almost half of it on K-12 education. And if you put IHL in there, we will spend over half of it if you figure that into the student funding formula itself calls for $3 billion this year of a $7.1 billion budget. So
is that something you're proud of?
I am proud of it. And my Republican colleagues, we get a bad rap sometimes as we're the mean old Republicans that don't like education and don't fund education. It's funded at historic levels. Now with our new funding formula, this will be the 3rd year in a row we will fully fund that funding formula, which is more times than MAEP had in almost a 30-year history. So I am proud of that. That funding continues to increase. But we've got other looming things. Your question about, hey, what's out there that nobody's talking about that could be the thing? One of the things, you're starting to see a lot of conversation about Gulf Coast Restoration Fund and how those funds are going to be spent on the coast. Mm-hmm. Some of your folks are keenly interested in that.
Well, we've talked about that a lot in the last couple of weeks. We had the recommendations from MDA, from Bill Cork's office. Obviously, he is working at the behest of the governor, and those are recommendations that are in line with some of the governor's plans for how things should continue to grow in Mississippi. But we've also seen a letter from Senator Wiggins saying that MDA and Bill Cork have way overstepped their bounds and that it's not their job to appropriate the money, just to advise, which is kind of what I thought that letter did. But that's going to be fascinating to see where that grows, because ultimately it's the legislature that decides where the money goes.
That's correct. And so we'll take all that into account. I tend to defer to my coast representatives on those issues, those lower 6 counties, on the directions that they want to take there. And most of the membership does. As to the other, there are 15 or 20 of those guys and girls down that way in the House that I tend to rely on as to the directions they want to go. Not saying what Bill Cork talked about, or even Senator Wiggins' response in their letters, which are now obviously out there. They both make valid points, and we'll figure that out. But you got things like that. You got things like the Rural Health Transformation Fund that flowed from One Big Beautiful Bill that the state has applied for. There's lots of conversation about what that program is going to look like. And the reason that program is so important is because with One Big Beautiful Bill, as the supplements go away for, the healthcare subsidies, we have a lot of people in Mississippi that have availed themselves to the exchange and those products and some of that insurance, maybe a couple 100,000 people. Are they, when those subsidies go away in January, are they going to keep them? Are we going to go back to a huge uninsured population? Where does all of that go? How does that affect Medicaid? Which, it's also no secret around the cap that they've been spending down cash reserves at Medicaid, and we may be looking at a huge budget increase over there. And yesterday, I think we adopted a budget that spent almost $1 billion at Medicaid. When I was elected in first year of service in 2014, budget for Medicaid was a little over $500 million. Now we're at $1 billion. It's doubled in my time in the legislature, 14 years.
So $4 billion of the $7.1 billion goes to education and Medicaid.
Yes, sir. And then $500 million almost to corrections, and then about $600 million to our community colleges and IHL.
So that's
add another
5.1 of the 7.1.
There you go. That's and it's no different than the you and your wife's budget or the budget. I was likening our budget process yesterday to our little budget process at West Baptist Church, my little church in West where we go. It reflects your priorities. When anybody can look at that sheet and that budget and say, okay, this is what's important to these people. Mm-hmm. People look at our budget. I think they can see, especially on the education issue, was my point yesterday. We spend more than any other state as a percentage of our state budget on K-12 education. And we fund it a little bit different too. So it's all taxpayer money. So it's in some ways it's strictly wordsmithing, but it is a reflection of our priorities. And I wish we could do better in the Medicaid space and the correction space and all the money we're spending incarcerating and not doing a good job of any rehab in that space.
Only 20 seconds into the break. Are we already seeing dividends from the gas tax as it pertains to funding for MDOT?
Yes, and those will continue. Those will continue to move as because we dealt with it in an excise tax way and not in the sales tax way.
Sure. Jason White, Speaker of the House, is my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. More with the Speaker on the other side of this timeout.
From the Seabrook.com.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
One week from today and 1 week from tomorrow, Sports Talk Mississippi will be in Oxford on the square at the library. Ole Miss hosting its first ever college football playoff game. You'll hear from coaches, former players, and more as we get you ready for one of the biggest games in Ole Miss football history, arguably the biggest. Coverage is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and Southern Hospitality. That's next Thursday and Friday, the 18th and 19th, at the library on the Oxford Square. Sports Talk Mississippi will be there. Speaker Jason White is my guest. We're kind of talking all things legislature as we are inside a month until the 2026 legislative session begins. It feels like, in terms of looking at this session, we've got to do a little bit of looking back at what happened last year with the gradual elimination of the state income tax, the excise tax on the gas going up, the grocery tax. I know it's not a grocery tax, but that's what we call it because we all know what that means, going down a little bit. And there's a question. You were talking about increased revenues year over year for the state of Mississippi, revenue outpacing estimates, and that is a good thing. But we are going to see revenue go down in terms of income tax incrementally over the course of the next decade. Are you concerned about, at some point, those numbers being offset in the opposite direction?
Well, as appropriators, we're always concerned with, as being stewards of taxpayer dollars, and certainly we have to pay our bills. We want to be very cognizant of that. And so that's why I think there was so much debate and so much time and energy spent on trying to get that tax cut right and the phase out and doing it over time and all that. So I was convinced then, and I'm still convinced now, that not only can we handle that tax cut over time, I think we thrive in that environment. Now, it's going to be different, certainly, but we see sales taxes way up. Folks are spending money. Certainly our income tax revenues will go down because we are obviously making those cuts. That's a policy decision of the state. We think it was for the state. We think it was the right one. So I certainly am not apprehensive or worried about that, but certainly we watch revenues and that sort of thing to provide the services that folks have come to expect from state government. Here's the kicker, or the nuance in all of that, and it's this. If you budget conservatively and in a common sense way, only spending money on things that are core functions of government and things that folks have decided is a legitimate spend of their tax dollars, you don't hear a lot from folks. But we can't. We've got to be very cognizant of that as we plan our budgets. I'll say it that way. So with that, continuing to live well within our means to the tune of $500 million now for 3 or 4 years in a row, I think we've demonstrated that we can. We're not spending every dollar we're taking in again this year, and so I think we're setting ourselves up to absorb whatever those tax cuts bring on the revenue side as it relates to that. But what we've actually seen so far as cuts that were already passed and have been being phased in, our revenues have still continued to trickle up. So we'll continue to watch it. Lots of smart folks are watching that. And there was no doomsday scenario presented yesterday with our smartest budgetary people in the room. I think folks felt really good about that side of it and where we are. Those issues I mentioned before the break, are looming, and we'll deal with them as they come.
One of the things that I guess was a headline out of last year's session was that there was a lot of money that was not spent for local projects, and there are people that, whether you call it local projects or Christmas tree funds or whatever, that money didn't get spent, and so it's still sitting there. Do you anticipate last year's money being combined with this year's money and all of that being spent, or is it like that money that didn't go to special projects, local projects in counties and cities across the state just kind of goes away?
Well, that money doesn't just go away. What I have learned around the cap is sooner or later it'll be spent by somebody. I think we've done a good job, though, of spending most of that money on infrastructure and things that last, and not the last thing we want to do is wake up a few years from now and all of the money that went out as a result of American Rescue Plan during the pandemic, all the federal money that flowed down to the states, including to Mississippi. We're looking right now at how all that money was spent. How much of that is spent,
not spent,
or not
some
spent,
cases.
And the deadline will loom. The deadline will be looming this time next year. If that money has not been spent, it has to be returned to the federal government. And at last calculation, we still had almost $500 million that had not been spent by the different entities that have received those grants through state agencies, whether they're cities or counties or water associations, lots of different places where those monies went. So we're watching that close and trying to get a handle. We do have a mechanism in place where most of that money will sweep and go to MDOT to some maintenance projects that are, shovel ready or already taking place, because the money not only has to be allocated, it has to be spent by this time next year. So we're watching that. We're watching that close. Richard, you asked me about what's the thing that nobody's thinking about that'll pop up this session. And again, if I knew that with certainty, it wouldn't be that thing, because I never know what that thing is.
Sure.
But what you do know is coming. You've talked about it a lot on your show with different guests, and then in other media outlets. I see it a lot. We hadn't hidden the ball on the fact that we want this session to be about education reform and freedom. And so folks are probably going to, if they're not already tired of hearing us talk about it, they're probably going to get tired of hearing us talk about it, because it will be the number one issue for us in the House is lots of reform. It's not just about some avenues of school choice. It is a huge, monumental piece of legislation that touches almost every facet of K-12 public education in our state. Everything from not only education freedom, but ways retired teachers can come back and teach with us and draw their retirement.
Something we talked about just yesterday because of a teacher shortage. We talked about that with Dr. Lance Evans, the state superintendent of education, yesterday, that's one of the areas that they want to see reform, or at least some change to the system that would allow retired teachers to be able to come back into the school systems if they want to do that without it affecting their retirement.
We're going to work hard to get that right. We got to be careful about that because of some tax ramifications with the way our entire public employees retirement system is run. It's tax exempt on their side of it, so we just got to be mindful of all. It's not as the devil's in the details on that to get it right, so that we don't do anything to jeopardize our tax status.
All right, let me ask you this: will school choice and the sometimes vitriolic debate over universal school choice, no school choice whatsoever, or somewhere in the middle, will that hold hostage some of the other important things that people are not talking about, some of those details, whether it's retired teachers or any of the other issues that are related to education? Or is there a scenario where maybe the school choice ends up in some sort of a hybrid compromise, but you're able to get all of these other things that aren't going to get the same number of headlines done so that there's good legislation in place?
Yes. I would like to say, for the most part, I think common sense has prevailed around the cap on most big issues. And we may have not gotten it perfect, but we got it right. And I think you'll see that on this. The same lawmakers are there that brought you House Bill 1, that brought you a new funding formula. They're all of a sudden not going to turn off their brains and their common sense and their issues that they hear from their locals. My members are very in tune with what they hear from constituents and folks in their community. None of that changes, even on the school choice debate. And so, will all of that do different things, bring different people to the table? Certainly they do. Like, I have members that are passionate about different aspects of school choice, either for or against. Just like I have people that think we should have financial literacy required in our schools. Some don't care that much about it. So different people are really concerned about the teacher shortage and retired teachers. People are concerned about the public-to-public transfer, both for and against. Like, different things bring people to the table. So when you couch it as any of that stuff being held hostage, I would just say it's not an issue of that. It's an issue of there's no purity in our ideas or in the politics of it. Guy or girl gets 80% of something they want around the legislature, they probably ought to take it. That's a good day. And Haley Barber taught us that, if nobody else did, that's your friend, and you probably ought to take that. So, from the outside looking in, there appears to be a fairly adversarial relationship between the two ends of the Capitol, between the House side and the Senate side. I don't know that that's necessarily the case with the members, but it does appear to be the case in terms of leadership.
Can that be lessened? Can that adversarial relationship be lessened for the good of the people of Mississippi?
I think so. But I think you've seen people put personalities aside. I think it's overblown. It's not a personal thing. It's just we were passionate about eliminating the income tax, and they weren't so passionate. I wasn't mad at them about it. I'm not mad at anybody about their views on school choice. Unfortunately, I'm convicted on the issue and think that parents know what's best. And so I'm going to advocate for their decision-making power. And wherever we get in that, I think Mississippians will be better off for it. People aren't going to forget they answer to constituents when they start looking at these issues.
We're back right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
The switch on.
Mornings with Richard Cross. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Yeah!
Happy to be joined by the Speaker of the House this morning, Jason White. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Henry Hamill and Mike McCormick from Mississippi Farm Bureau will be with us. There is a new health plan that is in place that is available through Farm Bureau. We're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like and get a little bit better understanding. The Speaker is one of the great politicians in the history of the state of Mississippi, in so much as he sometimes has the ability to what some people would call filibuster, which is a fancy word for use a lot of words to not say much.
I certainly don't mean to be dodging it. What do we want to talk about?
No. I want to try to hit two topics here, which may be a challenge in 5.5 minutes. We visited a couple of weeks ago with representatives from the First Responders Association, police chiefs, fire departments, and all the folks that fall under that umbrella. And they're really concerned about Tier 5 and PERS, the effect that it is having on recruiting in their ranks, the extended amount of service time that is required to get to retirement. We know that part of what happened in HB1 a year ago was an adjustment to the retirement system. Is there a scenario where there could be a carve-out for the first responders? But I feel like that brings up a secondary question, like, well, okay, the role that they play is incredibly important, but so is the role that teachers play. And so do you look at are there carve-outs? Is that something that you think gets revisited?
Tier 5 will be revisited.
Okay.
You'll see part of that in our education reform package as it deals with retired teachers and looks at some things at Tier 5 about going to 35 years and going to 8, your high 8 instead of your high 4. The House would like to get back to 30 years and get back to the high 4 there, just for certainly those teachers. But the first responders is a different issue because of the nature of those jobs. Mm-hmm. We cut the ribbon on
physically and mentally taxing.
Physically and mentally, and I was with our county firefighters in Italic County this week. We were cutting the ribbon on a new fire station and an emergency command center. Really cool deal. Everybody's happy, smiling. We're cutting the ribbon and all that. As soon as all that's over, the chief's like, "Could I have 5 minutes with you before you get gone?" And I knew what it was about because we'd had some informal conversations about it. We've got to find a way. Recruitment and retention is such an issue with those guys, and it's never about the money. If it was about the money, they wouldn't be doing that. It's about a calling. But even those guys who have that calling in our first responders and fire and police and our EMTs and those kind of things, there's a physical and mental side to that job unlike any others, and most guys don't make it, and they don't make it 35 years.
Right.
Their body plays out, or they just the stress of some of those situations.
You just hit the wall.
They just hit a wall. So we're gonna do our best to find a way to get them back.
So that's not an unreasonable conversation.
That's not an unreasonable conversation. Now it does come with a dollar figure associated with it, and we'll have to figure out what that is and what we can afford and that sort of thing. But we've talked a lot about excess revenues. We are looking at how we want to help continue to stabilize our retirement system. And you want to talk about something else too, so I won't go too far down that road other than to say you will see that piece. You will see the House come forward, and I'm sure the Senate has their own ideas about it too, about how we want to do that with some of this surplus that we're running on an annual basis, plus some of these cash reserves we have now.
So do you throw a big chunk of money at the PERS liability that exists?
We could throw a big chunk of this surplus that we currently have on hand at it, and then a lesser number over time. I would still like to see us finally legalize mobilized sports betting and allow that revenue, in addition to this large cash infusion, allow that revenue on an annual basis go there until such time it's funded at, say, an 85% level.
Why can that not get off the Senate floor? The House has done it year after year.
Well, you have plenty of senators and lieutenant governor here. You'll have to ask them.
Okay.
But the House will pass that bill again early in session. You'll see it, and you'll probably see that revenue dedicated strictly to the PERS system. And that's not a hook to get people to vote for mobile sports betting. It's just where we think that revenue ought to go. Those things aren't necessarily tied together. We just thought that was a smart place to put it before it fell off into the abyss that is sometimes the general fund.
Legislature allocates money to IHL. My view of this, I'm not speaking for anybody else, is that IHL says, give us our money, leave us alone. We'll spend it then, as opposed to telling us how to spend it or having a formula in place that makes sense to spend it. Do you see reform coming with IHL and how that money is allocated? Do they actually ever go to the point where they use the funding formula that was written half a dozen years ago that was never implemented?
I think they used that formula maybe one time when they paid a firm, they came up with a formula, and maybe they followed it one time and they hadn't followed it since for years. That was before my time even in the legislature. But you've got trustees on that board who are appointed by politicians, so the politics that play out on that board are as they relate to our institutions, and where did that individual go to? Which school did they go to? Where are their allegiances? They get there and represent the interest of the universities. Politics are all up in the middle of that debate. Now, could we distribute it more fairly? Our community colleges do I think a really good job of distributing theirs based on students and hours and those kind of things. Now, all things aren't equal as we look at institutions around the state. And so maybe it's never a perfect formula, but I think we could do a better job of assessing, being smart with our money.
I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for letting us be here. We enjoyed it.
Speaker of the House, Jason White. MRC continues after this.
You're ready. Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
I was only 17 back then, but it seems like I knew more than I do now. I can't say.
Glad to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. We roll into the 8 o'clock hour on this Thursday, the 11th of December. MRC is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey, looking to manage your personal finances. Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless. All designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Appreciate the speaker joining us this morning, Jason White. Good conversation with him as we get closer to the start of a new legislative session. And now, happy to welcome a couple of our friends from Mississippi Farm Bureau. President of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, Mike McCormick, is with us, and Vice President for Sales with Mississippi Farm Bureau, Henry Hamill. Two great Americans with me in studio. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Henry, we got to pull this mic down just a little bit closer to you. There we go. That ought to get us. I try not to go into interviews or conversations that we have completely blind. But I wanted this conversation to not have a lot of information for me coming into it because I'm learning about this just like I think our listeners are learning about it as well. I feel like most people, when they think about Farm Bureau in Mississippi, they think about it as a member organization where you can get auto insurance and life insurance and home and property. I guess property and casualty is the right term. And that's kind of what Farm Bureau has always been. We also know that people are scared to death of health insurance right now because it has gotten so incredibly expensive. And now Mississippi Farm Bureau has entered the health coverage space. Mike, I was careful not to use the word insurance there because you told me that was not the right word. So If you can start, Mike, and give us kind of a high-level overview, what exactly is it that we're talking about here in terms of health coverage for Mississippians?
Well, let's start with the background of Farm Bureau. We were started in 1922 to be the voice of agriculture for the state of Mississippi and nationally through American Farm Bureau all across the United States. Back during the 1940s, people found out that you couldn't get insurance in rural areas, and our membership came together and said, we got to solve this problem. So we put our membership dollars to work and capitalized Mississippi Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company and Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, and they're both domiciled here in the state, and we're proud to have them, and they do a great job with what they do. I'm the 10th president of Farm Bureau. To be president of Farm Bureau, you have to be a full-time farmer. So that's what I do. That's my day job when I'm not working here. So I'm not an insurance salesperson, but very fortunate to have some really good ones like Henry that handle all of that for us. But what we do is solve problems for Mississippi. And one of the things that I've heard loud and clear from my 11 years that I've been Farm Bureau president is we have an issue with our health care system, and we need some help. So Henry and I started talking about this, I guess, about 10 years ago. There is another state that had a Farm Bureau health plan established, and we were looking to do something very similar with it to try to get some something affordable to our members that would work for them on their farms and for people that are small business owners. And it just didn't work at the time. And through the process, we came back to the table about almost 3 years now. Ran a bill through the legislature that will allow Farm Bureau to sell a product that's not insurance. It's Farm Bureau Health Plan. It's going to be modeled a little bit differently, but I think people will look at it and understand it a lot like what things look like before the Affordable Care Act. So with this plan, we can do something different. It's not regulated by the Department of Insurance. So we are able to sell this plan year-round. We won't stop at the end of open enrollment, and it's just been a dream come true. We've worked really hard on this from a business standpoint, trying to find the right third-party administrator to come in and work with us on this, and we decided that that group was Arkansas Blue Cross. They have been working with Farm Bureau of Arkansas for about a year doing this up there. And they came down and made a pitch to us, and we created this partnership that I think is going to work really well for the people here in the state of Mississippi and create some savings in a space that is much needed.
So, Henry, you've got agents in all 82 counties in Mississippi, and I would say that in all 82 counties, you've got people that are concerned about the cost of their current health insurance or the inability to be able to afford health insurance. This is a health care plan. What are you saying to people? Has this only been rolled out for, a couple of months now? Is that right?
We started November the 1st.
Okay.
So it's only been going a month and a half or so. And we've already written over 2,000 people on this plan around the state. It's really taken off well like we expected. Our agents are really out, letting the public know about it and doing a great job with that. And like I said, we got 287 agents around the state right now that are eligible to write this plan for anybody that qualifies.
What does it look like?
It's very similar to the old Blue Cross type plan they had. We used to, as agents, sell a Blue Care plan years ago, and it's very similar to that. It's got different deductibles all the way from $250 to $10,000 as options. It's an 80-20 plan. You got a doctor's copay, you got a pharmacy copay, maternity is a rider, it's optional. It does have pre-existing conditions clauses, and things like that. So it's a plan that you have to be approved for, just like for life insurance or car insurance or anything else, that you go through underwriting and be approved based on the criteria that's set within the plan.
So if you are a healthy Mississippian, then this is a plan that is probably worth looking at?
Absolutely.
They need to go by and call their local county Farm Bureau office, get in touch with their agent, because it's going to work for them.
Yeah.
I've known Henry for a while now, And even though he's vice president, he's got a lot of management things that fall under him. I know that at his core, he is a salesman, and so I'm assuming that with a brand new product to sell and to help your agents sell, that this felt like a great opportunity for Farm Bureau, but also it only works if it's a good opportunity for people in Mississippi. It's an absolute win-win. I mean, as being someone that sold a lot of health coverage back in the day, this plan is really filling a need that's out there. I mean, if you're a farmer or a self-employed type person, or somebody that's not getting a heavy subsidy from the government on the ACA plans, if you fit into those categories, whether it be attorneys, accountants, whatever it is that you do, you need to give a Farm Bureau agent a call, because we're seeing savings of $500, $600, $700, $800 a month, $1,000 a month per family in many cases. I mean, I'll give you an example. A 19-year-old is like I saw the sheet a minute ago, $170 a month, for like a 19-year-old kid. So you got a lot of situations where people have coverage, maybe at work, group coverage, but then they're having to pay for their dependent coverages. And so all of those are opportunities to save money too, and I think you can probably drop dependent coverage any time. And just like Mike said, we're writing this plan 12 months out of the year. We're not having to fall under the guidelines of the ACA, because it is a different thing. It's not insurance, as it said, but we've got Blue Cross Blue Shield's our third-party administrator that's doing all the work behind the scenes for us, handling all the claims, using their network. So if you're in a Blue Cross, if you go in network with Blue Cross, you get the same network that you have with us that you have with the state of Mississippi on their plans, or anybody that's got Blue Cross network around the nation. So anyway, and Mike, that's one of the big issues that people have when they start looking at insurance coverage. They're like, can I go to my doctor? Can I go see the doctor that I've always gone to see, whether it's a specialist or a primary care physician? When you talk about the Blue Cross network, that is the biggest network of healthcare providers in Mississippi, right?
When we looked at who we would use as our third-party administrator, and we had some other options, Blue Cross sold us on the idea that you'd have to work really hard to get out of network with this plan. So if it's somewhere that takes Blue Cross, they will take this plan.
When you talk about there are pre-existing condition restrictions there, I mean, obviously that is based on cost, right? I mean, if you just everybody can get into it, then it's going to have to cost more, because you got people that are sick more often and have major catastrophic medical issues. How stringent is the review process when you talk about being eligible for this? It's depending on the person. A lot of times it may depend on the cost of the medications that they're having to take or the condition that they have. It's there's certain things that they've got listed. I don't have them in front of me that are automatic. Yep. If you got cancer, we can't help you. And that's why we also partnered with Ambetter. At the same time we did this, we partnered with Ambetter, who is an ACA plan, insurance plan that they write, that our agents can now write through, so that we got the best of both worlds. So if we have a situation where somebody can't get get coverage with us, then we run them through that plan. Or if they've got some surgeries planned or something like that we keep somebody from being eligible, then we'll write them through that. So that's kind of the angle. When we finally got back into it, we went all in. Well, let's take a quick time out. We'll continue the conversation on the other side of the break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
What are we going to do? Rise and shine with information and insight. Check it out. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Whatever brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around.
Good to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. That's the best way for you to be part of the conversation. I feel like I need to put this out there just as a disclosure. I think if you listen to SuperTalk Mississippi, you know that Mississippi Farm Bureau has been a great partner of ours for a really long time. This conversation with Mike McCormick, president of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, and Henry Hamill, vice president of sales with Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Companies, is not a sales pitch. We're not trying to convince you to buy anything, but it is information that I feel like needs to be out there because this is an opportunity for Mississippians that has not existed in an insurance environment that has become increasingly expensive. For some people, it has become debilitatingly expensive in terms of their monthly budget and the ability to make sure that they've got health care. The world changed when the Affordable Care Act came into place. Obamacare, as it has been called by many, that's been a bit of a pejorative for a lot of people when they've talked about the ACA. So, Henry, and I know you've kind of answered this question, but in terms of this Farm Bureau health care plan, who is eligible?
Anybody eligible from 6 months to 64, and almost 65.
Okay,
can get on this plan.
So before you roll into Medicare age, and after you're born,
right?
Okay, so that's pretty wide swath of people that are available. Mike, you said a second ago that the legislature paved the way for this to be a possibility. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, we had to change a law that would allow us to do this, that would name us a nonprofit agricultural membership organization. They would give us the ability to write a non-regulated plan like this that, quite frankly, cuts through a lot of the red tape that the Affordable Care Act created and matched what some of our companies in other states, other Farm Bureau states, were doing. We were the 10th state to be able to cut through that and create this plan that will allow us to pass the savings along to our members. I think it's just going to be a really good thing. As one high-ranking government official here told me not so long ago, is this is what happens when government gets out of the way and let private industry figure out the answers to what the problems are. And we have done that. Feel really good about it. We put a tremendous amount of work in this over the last. That's why it's taken us almost 3 years to get it going. We wanted to make sure with our Farm Bureau name on it that it was done right and that we stand behind it, and it's something that we can all be proud of. So,
what about HSAs? We get a question on the C Spire text line about that, health savings accounts. How do they factor into this landscape?
There are a lot of options out there for HSAs. Really don't factor into this. This is a totally separate type thing.
I guess maybe the question that I've got is, with those HSAs, there's a limit to what there are a lot of things that you can spend money on if your employer provides an HSA. I don't think you can pay health insurance premiums out of an HSA. Because this is not health insurance, can you use HSA funds to pay your monthly premium, for lack of a better way to describe it?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We're in the process of trying to get people advised, and I would just say go talk to your accountant to see what they say on this issue. It's not insurance; it's a health plan. So your accountant's going to have to tell you if it's a business how you can handle that.
What about major medical issues? People talk about catastrophic medical plans that if they go to some sort of a group plan that's not traditional insurance, sometimes you've got to have a major medical rider or something along that goes with. How does major medical fall in? The big expenses that you face that go to health insurance?
Well, this plan right here is an 80-20 plan. It's got a $2 million yearly life maximum per year. So
yearly, not lifetime
yearly,
of the policy. Yearly.
The old plans we used to write had a $2 million lifetime maximum. This is $2 million per year. We've got this plan reinsured for that catastrophic type situation that a customer might have, and so it's gonna kick in and do like that.
One thing that I need to mention is Henry talked about this being underwritten, and it would exclude pre-existing conditions on some categories. But once you get in, if you've been in and you pass the underwriting process and something happens, then you're still in the plan. They keep you. It just is the part of the process that we can go through to underwrite it to not accept those into the pool of people that would drive the cost of the plan up right off the bat.
So you're not kicked out if life happens?
No, sir.
No.
Okay.
You're not kicked out, Richard, and also, I mean, when we go through the underwriting process, you can be approved just as we, sent up on a price-wise. You can be rated up. Maybe you have a little issue. That we don't want to reject you, but we want to take you. So then we take you maybe at just a little higher rate.
Okay.
And then in the worst case scenario, we can't take you. But in those scenarios where we can't take you, we've got other options, which is the ACA option, to do that. But what we found is that where we're most the need is those people out in the communities that maybe aren't getting huge subsidies on ACA. And like I said, dependents that are on other people's plans, and then it's certainly the self-employed market, whatever it may be, that's not getting subsidies or huge subsidies.
Right. They're having to pay out of pocket for health insurance. Period.
Right.
Let me paint a couple of family scenarios for you, and you tell me, hey, this is something that makes sense, or it's not something that makes sense. I'll just start with our family and the way that we're made up. So, I work for TeleSouth. And I'm covered, pay my premium through them. My wife is a small business owner. Doesn't make sense, based on the dollars, for her and our kids, she and our kids, to be on my insurance through TeleSouth. Her business has a health insurance plan, and our kids are on her coverage. Now, in terms of business premiums this year, it went up 35%. So if you take our family situation, how does this make sense for us?
Well, probably more than likely, you're probably going to be better off staying on the SuperTalk plan.
Okay.
Hers, she would want to look at. If it's a real small group, then you might want to look and see from a price-wise. Certainly, you'd want to get quotes on the kids. Give me an example. How old are your children?
15, 13, and 8. Girl, boy, girl.
So, I mean, for a 15-year-old, around $217 a month is what it runs. Actually goes down. That's $1,000 deductible. Probably you may or may not have 1,000. You probably have more than 1,000.
I think it's more than that.
It goes down at age 19 to 150 on a boy, and then it starts gradually going back up. At age 32, it's $212 a month. But it's also a plan that they can keep, until they turn 65. So, once you get on there, you're on there, and you get them on there when they're healthy. And the girl's going to run about the same price for that $1,000 deductible. So it's going to depend on each individual circumstance. That's why it's important for them to call and to sit down with the Farm Bureau agent and let them go through it, and let them look and see what they have and where they can help them. It may be, for Jane, maybe better to be on this plan and not even have a group plan.
So it's a run the numbers thing.
It's a run the numbers thing.
It's a math equation. So let's take a farmer in the Mississippi Delta, somebody that farms, 2,500 acres. Not a huge farm, but not a small farm. He's got a wife. He's got 2 kids. Wife stays at home, maybe substitute teaches on the time. She, at a private school. She's not in an insurance plan. Does this make sense for that family?
Absolutely makes sense, and we're finding tremendous amount of success with people taking that up and taking that offer throughout the state of Mississippi. And as someone that spends his time talking to the legislature, and I leave Monday going to Washington, D.C. to talk to our delegation there, one of the biggest impediments that we see for future farmers is this health care issue, to where they come back and not only is it unaffordable, a lot of cases they just don't have an option to get it. So one, we gave them an option, and two, it should be maybe about 60% of what's on the market.
Oh, wow.
It just depends on how everything works out. It could be that for sure.
And let me throw one more at you. There has been a huge push from the legislature and a lot of entities tied to economic development. There is a need in the trades in Mississippi, whether we're talking about construction or plumbing or electrician. In some cases, you have young people who are getting the skills they need, and then they're starting their own company. Mm-hmm. Is this something that makes sense for them as they're starting out, maybe have a young family to go along with it?
I had some electrical work done on my home about a month ago, and the contractor that was there, it was before we started, and we were sitting there talking about it. He had 2 or 3 young kids below 30 years of age out there working and getting this done. And I told him about it, and he said, you just tell me when I can go, because I'm sending these 3 kids over there to get them some coverage.
Really interesting stuff. Farm Bureau Health Plan. Best way to learn more, reach out to your local Farm Bureau county office.
Yeah, also go to this website, msfarmbureauhealthplan.com.
Okay.
It's got all kinds of information on there. If they want to do a little research on it, tells about it. But then at the same time, call the local agent, talk to them. If you don't have a Farm Bureau membership, you can go and become a member of Farm Bureau and get on this health plan, and that's what we'd love to see you do. So,
thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Richard.
From the
How's it going, man? The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
They really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Santa looked a lot like Daddy. Our Daddy looked a lot like him. Well, they thought I was fast asleep and they thought I was...
This is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Thanks for joining us. I said thank you, gentlemen, as if I was letting Henry and Mike head out. I don't think... You may be plugged into the wrong box there. We got Mike still going?
Give me 1 sec. I'll be right there.
There we go. We'll get that figured out. I wanted to keep Mike McCormick just for a second and hit a couple of things. As we go into this legislative session, we're going to get Lance to get you squared away. I bet it's a volume knob. How about that?
That'll work.
If you take the volume and you turn it up, it makes you be able to hear a little bit better.
I didn't realize he had cut it down.
But, Mike, I wanted to just hang on and visit. We're so close to the start of a new legislative session here, and there's some things that are happening in Washington, D.C. that I know are kind of right there in the middle of what you're keeping an eye on. We got the announcement on Monday of, I think it was Monday of this week, $12 billion being taken out of money collected through tariffs, and that is going to create an aid package for farmers, or at least we think that's where the money's coming from.
Well, I don't think so. I think the money was appropriated through Congress and went into the CCC Corporation. They may run into some legal issues with taking tariff money and using it for that. But there was some money available, and we're very grateful that the Trump administration chose to put $12 billion out there is the number that's going to be distributed to a wide range of farmers. 10 or 11 billion will go to the row crop farmers that have really been the tip of the spear in this trade dispute that we're seeing. And no fault of your farmers. They've worked hard. Prices, the input prices has just escalated to a point that it's just unaffordable for them to farm anymore. The commodity prices just aren't anywhere close to break even. So they're going to have something to get to better days.
We're still waiting for details on what this distribution is going to look like. There were some kind of sketch points that were out there. I think 150,000 max for an individual farm. The way farms are divided up can get complicated, and so you might have a farmer that qualifies for more money than that, depending on the way it's distributed. You had a chance a couple of months ago when Brooke Rollins was in Mississippi to visit with her. Our Super Talk Mississippi news team got a chance to visit with her as well. Mm-hmm. What did you take away from that visit in terms of her level of receptiveness to what is going on with farmers, her understanding of the issues that farmers specifically in Mississippi are facing?
I think she's a very smart lady with a really good heart that has the president's ear. And I don't think you could ask for anything better than that. Unfortunately, tariffs are the reality of what we're dealing with, and it might be the savior for some things, but it's tough on a farmer, and it's tough on trade. We used to have a trade surplus with the nations around the world, and now we're a net importer of agricultural products into the United States. So we've got to get to the point to where we can finalize some of these trade deals, get back in the global market, and sell what we produce here in the United States, because quite frankly our farmers are very good at what they do, and we can way overproduce what we need here in the United States, and we've got to be able to trade that around the world. So we're hopeful that's the biggest part of it, is we can continue down this path of unprofitability and me forcing me to go to D.C. on a regular basis saying, I hate to tell you this, but it's not enough. And even with the $10 or $12 billion that's been announced, it's probably the need, according to American Farm Bureau economists, the need that were losses for the farmers last year probably in the $30 to $40 billion range. So we're about a third of the way there. I think the Senate and the Congress know that, and they're already working on some ideas of what they can do to help. In the big, beautiful bill, a lot of the Farm Bill priorities were passed along in that, which upped the ARC and PLC payments that farmers pay into, and insurance type plans in there as well. So if we can get to where that kicks in, which is the fall of 2026, the farmers will be in a better place, and they can help offset their losses through that program if they have it. But right now, since the 2018 Farm Bill was extended so many times, and that the prices in it were so outdated, we're just trying to build a bridge to try to get as many farmers as we can into the fall of next year, when hopefully we'll see some better prices, better trade deals, and a better Farm Bill product that they can use.
But to me, there are two things that stand out in that. One, you've got to get the farmers from here to there.
Yep.
And it's almost like they're flying without a safety net between now and then. The hole is getting deeper for a lot of them. And there are people that have said, I mean, for some it's too late, right? They've run out of money. They've run out of the ability to draw loans. They can't go any deeper into debt. And they've just had to throw up their hands and say, okay, I'm out. And for many, that's multi-generational farmers that have had to step away from the business.
100% right. I was in a Farm Bureau Christmas party in North Mississippi Tuesday night. The board president there farms row crops, and he told me his neighbor to one side farms 5,000 acres. His neighbor to the other side farms 2,500 acres. Both of them filed for bankruptcy in November, and multi-generational farms. We hadn't seen this kind of economic pressure since early 1980s. It's really heartbreaking. And what I've done over the last 10 or 12 years is try to focus on young farmers and beginning farmers, and bringing them in and encouraging them to take over farms from all of us older ones that are getting ready to call it a career. And there's a lot of us in that situation. And those are going to be the ones that are going to be the most stressed. They don't have the capital there to burn back through to create a safety net for themselves. And I'm afraid we're going to lose the future of agriculture, and we're going to have to start all over again if we do.
Well, and then the second piece of that is, if you are able to bridge to the fall of 26, is the hole that you've dug so deep at that point that it makes it almost impossible to get out, even if you can get to that finish line, if you will?
Interest rates will eat you up. So you've got to be able to if that hole continues to get deeper, you've got to make some big crops with some big profits to be able to get you back to zero. It certainly, once you dig yourself a hole, it's really hard to get out of it.
When we talk about input costs, the cost of producing a crop, I mean, you need what you're selling on the backside to outpace what you're having to spend to get to the backside. Is there a single area within the cost spreadsheet for inputs that is not more than it was a year ago or 5 years ago? I mean, because we've heard about seed going up, fertilizer going up, fuel goes up, labor costs go up, rents are higher. good grief, to buy a tractor or a combine or a cotton picker. I mean,
cotton picker is $1.2 million now, and that's all it can do. It's not going to do anything else on your farm but pick cotton.
It's still going to pick cotton.
It pick cotton about 2 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year, and then it goes back to the shed, and you wait again till next year. It's just really expensive to do what we do. I was talking to a farmer this past week. He has some tillage equipment. He refurbishes it at the end of every season. He said it's costing me around $500 every year to buy the parts to go back in and put the bearings and new disc blades on that I do. He went to the parts store this year and he thought they were kidding. It was over $1,000 for the same things that he bought the year before. So everything is going up. Seed cost is definitely through the roof. Fertilizer costs have skyrocketed. So once a farmer sits down and they're very good and their banker makes them, they have to be really good business people with really sharp pencils. You put it all on a sheet of paper and you make a budget out of it, and that budget just doesn't work. I mean, you can get creative and say, well, this year maybe I don't put out quite as much fertilizer as I put out last year, but there's payback for that as well. You can only do that for so long. Maybe I put off buying another tractor this year and I'll just wait till next year. Well, you can't afford the repair cost at the repair shops anymore. Yeah. It's just tremendous. So
that last thing for you as we wrap up, there are those that say, why are farmers special? Why is it that they deserve a bailout? Why is it that their industry deserves to be subsidized when this industry and this industry and this industry are also struggling? I know you're an advocate for farmers, but how do you respond when you get that question?
Well, I think the farmers, number one, are the tip of the spear. These trade deals, they always go after U.S. agriculture as their pinch point because they know how important that is to rural communities all across the United States. When your farmers thrive, your rural communities thrive all across this nation. So it is a little bit different. I would also say that it's a national security issue. Is you want your food grown here in the United States. You want safe, affordable food. And if you don't have any farmers that do it, if they can no longer do this profitably and you start seeing fallow land and farmers quitting and going doing something a whole lot simpler, I really don't know a farmer that does what we do because they want to go get rich. I just think that it's in their heart. It's in their bloodlines. Their father did it. Their grandfather did it. It's generational. It's just in their blood and in their makeup to do this. So once they don't do this anymore, I don't know that it ever comes back again. Yeah. And we've got to grow our food here in the United States. It's a national security issue.
Mike, I appreciate your time. Great visiting with you. Always good to see you. Wish you and your family a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Richard.
Mornings with Richard Cross. We'll wrap things up with you coming up next.
From the Venable Glass.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
All right, we raced through 3 hours on this Thursday morning. Richard Cross and Lance Tolbert, one last time with you. Big thanks to the Speaker of the House, Jason White. Spent about 45 minutes with us this morning, and then same thing from Henry Hamill and Mike McCormick from Mississippi Farm Bureau. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff, especially on the Farm Bureau health plan front. An option that has not been available. If you missed that conversation, I would encourage you to go back and listen online at supertalk.fm or to grab the Mornings with Richard Cross podcast and listen when you've got a minute. It is not a one-size-fits-all opportunity, but it certainly is a one-size-fits-some. And it sounds like there's some pretty significant cost savings that is available for a lot of folks out there with that Farm Bureau health plan. So, as they suggested, the website was MS Farm Bureau Health Plan, I think.
.com. Yeah, that's it exactly. And then there's a Learn More feature, and it gives you quite a bit of information as you compare it to the ACA.
Yeah.
Excellent spot.
Yeah, there it is. MSFarmBureauHealthPlan.com if you want to learn more. Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota are loaded down on their lot right now. I drove past the lot last night as I was headed south to Jackson. I guess I was headed west toward Batesville first and then south toward Jackson. But great selection on the lot right now. You can find them online at belkford.net, oxfordtoyota.com, or do yourself one better. Stop by and visit with some of the people at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota yourself. They will help you get in the vehicle that you're looking for, that you can afford, the one that makes the most sense for you, whether it's an F-150 or an Expedition or maybe a Bronco or any of the previously owned vehicles that are on the lot. A lot of options there for you at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. They've been in the Belk family has been in the automobile business for over 100 years. They are not going anywhere. They will be here when you need them. Check them out wherever you live in the state of Mississippi. Do what I do and go with I would suggest an F-150 from Belk Ford, but whatever makes the most sense to you. What else, Lance? Got a couple of minutes before we wrap things up this morning. Oh, we got this. We talked yesterday about the meeting that was coming from the Fed. We got another quarter point cut from the Federal Reserve on the country's key rate, down to about 3.6%, lowest it has been in nearly 3 years. The Fed board voted unanimously, with the exception of one, for that 250 basis point reduction. And the one that voted was the most recent appointee from Donald Trump. He wanted to see a full half-point rate cut. So everybody was on board this time with lowering rates. There is some thought that the economy for 2026 is looking good. Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed, said what you see is some people feel we should stop here and we're in the right place and should wait, and some people think we should cut more next year. I would say that most, at least on the surface, believe more cuts are the way to go. But we shall see how that plays out. David Fisher Land Company is here to help if you are in the market for land. Check out their website. Great listings available to you. Lance and I have talked about this before. He's gone to that website and looked at some of those properties that are available at davidfisherland.com, and they'll kind of make you drool. You got some beauties. You got cropland, you got rolling hills, you've got timberland, you've got some that are a combination of the three, with maybe a slough mixed in. You might do ducks and deer and turkey and doves and everything all in one spot. David Fisher Land Company can help you with that in the land financing, land brokerage, land selling business for over 40 years, headquartered in Inverness, Mississippi. And David and Jack and Travis all would love the opportunity to help you with all of your land needs. The website, davidfisherland.com. davidfisherland.com. They can help you with all of your land buying and selling needs. We have almost come to the end of the line.
Well,
what you learn today?
Always learn a lot here, man. I get to do gardening and handyman and local, but the 3 hours here, we cover such a broad swath of things. Today was really interesting. Love learning about the Farm Bureau plan. And anytime you can see new products come out and things like that that are customized for folks that need them, I love hearing that. And then Jason White's always phenomenal. You know?
He's great. He is great. For those of you listening in Greenwood, I know it's gone dark during the commercial breaks. We will get on that and make sure. It's a little disconcerting when you hear nothing coming out of your radio. I understand that. We'll make sure that all the right people know about that. And to the kind lady that dropped off a 2026 planner at my wife's store for me from Tab South in Houston, thank you. My wife goes, somebody brought this by for you. And I was like, I remember. I talked about it on the radio, and she said she would. So thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Very kind. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. For Lance, I'm Richard. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Have a great Thursday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.